Welcome back to another episode of Customer Success EQ Podcast. I'm your host Kritika, and today we have a really critical topic that we are going to discuss. Whether you are a seasoned CS professional or just starting your career, understanding how product centric outcomes and customer centric outcomes are different is crucial for driving real value for your customers and for your business. This conversation today is going to give you a lot of practical insights and strategies to transform your customer success approach. And today, I'm really thrilled to introduce you to our guest, Alok, who is a leader at Mango Apps. He has extensive amount of experience in customer success domain, and he has also been recognized at top 100 customer success strategists for 2023. So welcome to the show, Alok. We are really thrilled to have you today.
Thank you, Kritika. Thank you.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, a little bit about your
So,
background? Uh, uh, how did you choose customer success? And yeah, uh,
mhm.
we'd love to know that.
Sure. Thanks, Kritika. So, I'm Alok, and I'm working as Associate Director, Customer Success with Mango Apps. I have close to 13 years of experience in the customer success and customer-oriented or focused role. So I work in many companies, Mango Apps being one of them, which is into employee super app. I worked with companies that were in the travel domain, that were in the airline domain. Then I was also part of TCS and worked there for close to 2.5 years. And in the entire engagement with these companies, maybe by luck or maybe by just chance, I got an opportunity to be engaged in the customer centric roles and the customer support roles. So that is how it has been. And I really like working in a domain which is customer focused, and because there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to interact with the customers. So I kind of like this role. As my background is concerned, I did my engineering, and after my engineering, I did my MBA in marketing, and then I moved in the customer success roles in various companies.
I stumbled upon your profile, and when I was reaching out to you for being my guest, there is one thing that really intrigued me, which is your bio.
Mhm.
It is extremely interesting, and you have summarized what success means in just few letters, like just one
Yeah.
simple formula. And we have designed this whole podcast around that simple formula because I feel like that is the philosophy that 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 you have when you are
Yeah.
driving success for you, for your customers, for your. But it's basically that success is the function of not just product outcome. Or product outcome is the function of customer outcome, which is
And
in turn, gives you business outcome. So, I mean,
yeah.
I'll stop blabbering, and why don't you just go ahead and explain that formula and probably tell us, what is product outcome and how it is different from the customer outcome.
Definitely. It's really interesting. So why I wrote this particular equation is I went through a fellowship, a product management fellowship, and then I went through the intricacies of product management and understood how product management is so closely related to customer success, and then customer success is so closely related to business. So at the ground level, everything is about the output and the output that we create from the product, right? So in the old days, I'll consider this an economic example. So back in 1960, India used to be one of the largest producer of iron ore. Okay, so India used to produce a lot of iron ore, but that was an absolute advantage of India because of its, the magnitude of resource that it holds, and the mineral rich country that India is. But that was not leveraging India from exporting that iron ore. So what they were getting for that particular export is just in pennies. However, countries like Japan were able to leverage that, and they were able to convert the absolute advantage of iron ore to a competitive advantage, which is stainless steel. So they were able to create an alloy, and they were able to create, a competitive advantage. Now, output is basically as an absolute advantage that many companies can do by creating a product. There can be multiple duplicate products that are giving the same output, but what differentiates each companies from the other would be the outcome. right? The problem that they are able to solve for the customers, the new possibilities that they are able to venture into, right? So product output is more feature centric, more towards functionality and technical specifications. So, for example, back in 1960, Ford used to create a lot of cars and they used to just create, produce. That is product output, which the characteristics of those would be like feature development, speed and efficiency, technical metrics. So those are the characteristics of a product output. But when you move from the product output to a product outcome approach, you start to become more customer centric. You start to hear words like value, what value you are deriving. So those are the things or the characteristics of a customer output strategy. So customer outcome will typically be more strategic in nature, whereas product output will be more more tactical. So product output will be tangible. On the other hand, outcome will be more intangible in nature, and it will be more goal driven. But one point that I would like to mention here, so when I say success is equal to product output, which is a function of customer customer outcome, which eventually is a function of business outcome. So when you say business outcome, it is the impact that your customer outcome is going to make, and the impact can be in terms of the top line, bottom line, or the various financial ratios. So at the bottom, it's product output, then you have the customer outcome, and then you have the impact. Okay, so that's how these three metrics, these three important terms are different from each other. Okay, so for example, I'll give you an example here. So imagine that there's a project management software company, and a product output focused approach might concentrate on adding new features like calendar view, task dependencies, or a real-time chat. So those are something that becomes a product output. However, a customer outcome focused approach would start by understanding what the customer need to succeed, whether that's an improved project completion rate, better time collaboration, or more efficient resource allocation. So those are the things that becomes part of a customer outcome. Okay, so and this is what we did. So in my company, we have a huge client from Europe, and they were using our product for tracking. So they were using WhatsApp essentially for tracking their store users and store managers, and how the store employees are interacting, and even tracking the availability of store employees on the platform. So what we did is that we introduced a similar feature, but with a dashboard which allows a store manager to see the availability for each store employees, which gives them a better understanding of how they can perform the resource utilization better. And what that led to was people started moving from WhatsApp and all those chat applications to Mango apps and started using our feature, and that led to user adoption, increase in user adoption, increase in user engagement, and of course increasing DAU. So those are the product outputs that that came in here. But eventually that led to more value, that more satisfaction. The CSAT score increased, the NPS increased, and that led to better outcome.
The baseline for any customer success professional is to understand that customer don't buy the products for the feature that you offer. They buy the product
Correct.
for what they are going to achieve, what results they can see. And when we are selling also, it's always like a value-based selling. Oh, you can save X number of dollars, or oh, you can do X number of things. But I feel like as a customer success managers, and I have also done in my career, that I have always seen from the lens, okay, they have used these many features, probably things are going fine. But it's always important to bring back that customer outcome perspective. How does it translate for them? Like it is translating in as many features for us, but how does it translate to them? So yeah, that's great explanation and great example over there.
And one thing more that I would like to say here. So in the product management terminology, there's something called user journey. So if we are able to focus on getting value at each user journey, that will lead to value aggregation. At the same time, the same logic applies for the customer journey. So you should have value derived at each user journey while using a product, and at the same time, the overall customer journey. Okay, so there should be value at each user journey, and there should be least pain points while using those applications or any of those products. So, for example, I'll consider an example of Zomato. So, if you use the app, you'll see that the experience you'll find very less pain points while using the app. There'll be there'll be at each stage of the user journey, you'll not find any place where a user can drop off the app. It's minimal, and that's why the user engagement is so high on that particular app. It's seamless. Even for the payment flow is seamless, where the OTPs come, it gets automatically added. Even if you're using an UPI, the integration is seamless. So it's the user journey, the UI, the UX experience. You're adding value at that level, at the micro level, and this particular value addition at micro level transcends to the value addition at the macro level. So both of them are interconnected, they are intertwined.
We talked about these two points of customer outcome and product outcome. So how do I if I'm a young leader, or if I'm having a team of customer success, just building a team, let's say, how do I
Mhm.
ensure that my team focuses on customer outcomes? How do I develop that sort of mindset? If you can give us some tips on that.
Yeah. So I think the first step there would be understanding customers' business goal. Right? You need to understand what is the objective or the overall goal of the business. And how that will happen is through the discovery sessions that you may be part of. Right? So it can start right at the sales touch point itself. So understand what is the goal that the customer is trying to achieve. The next step would be, of course, the onboarding sessions, regular check-ins. So those are the places where you have, a chance or a way of understanding customers' business goal, and you should get to understand it as soon as possible. The earlier you understand their business goal, the easier it would be to tweak your entire customer success plan or the entire customer success journey. The second thing would be you have to redefine your success metrics, right? So you'll have to shift from product metric like daily active users and things like that to a customer success metric, which will be things like CSAT, NPS, time to value. So from micro product metric, you'll have to go to macro customer success metric. So instead of things like DAU conversion rate, talk about CSAT, talk about NPS, talk about CLTV, talk about time to value. So those are the keywords that we'll need to start focusing on. And of course, you already know that these are the metrics of customer success. Your emphasis should be more on cross-functional collaboration, the collaboration with the product team, the sales team, and the support team. So there's a great book by Nick Mehta on customer success, and where he says that the entire philosophy, if you want to make a product or a company success, the entire company should start focusing on the customer success philosophy, and they should have the same outlook. The QA team, the dev team, the product team, everybody should be focusing on that. Yeah. So that would be one of the things that we need to do. Empowering teams, you should empower teams to to participate in certifications, to participate in all the engagements that improve customer success, participate in customer educations, working on LMS courses, webinars, creating support resources, best practices. Those are the things that we can focus on to shift our mindset from a product centric view to a customer output centric view.
So mapping of the feature in terms of customer outcome is something that I feel like can be like the first step of
Mhm.
if my feature is getting used, let's say n number of time, how it is translating for a certain amount of customer, and then that can be like a benchmark. And basically, that
Exactly,
focus shift is necessary instead of
is necessary.
internally also talking about how usage of driving usage of different feature set, how are we driving outcome, and
Yeah.
giving that same mindset to each and every team, as you rightly pointed out, to product, to
Yeah.
support. So
I
yeah.
think more from the transition would be more from what and how that we used to do, to why, and what is the purpose, what is the objective. So transition from what, why, and when to why and the purpose. And the purpose would be from customer's perspective, from the business perspective.
Right. And a lot of times I also feel that customer themselves, they have
Mhm.
gotten this product. they themselves don't know about that big picture, because sponsor, probably he has gotten the product and he has given it
Hmm.
someone to implement it. So it's, as a,
Exactly.
customer success manager, it's your duty also to, instead of them thinking, oh, I want to create a pop-up, or I want to create a training,
Hmm.
don't you have to move them also to think, okay, why you want to do that training,
Exactly.
what
Correct.
what problem you are trying to solve. So as a customer success manager, it sometimes becomes your duty to kind of guide the customer also in the right direction.
Educate even the leadership team or the team, the stakeholders, on how to use the product and what they are deriving, why they are using the product. So they should also be aware about the good things that is happening with the product, because eventually they are the decision maker.
Absolutely. 100%. So we touched upon, I think, a little bit of strategy here as to how CSMs
Mhm.
can identify um, these customer outcome, but anything else, any other strategies that CSMs can use to understand what desired outcome their customers want?
So I think from the strategy perspective, and getting to know about the customer from the sales, right? So discovery session and the sales team, this discovery session that's held by the sales team, and also the sales notes is very important to understand about the customer and what goals they are trying to achieve. Because the sales team is the team who will have the first information about that customer. Okay, so ensure that you get these information and details from your sales team. The second thing would be understanding about your customers' goals, objectives, what are the challenges they're facing, what is their expectations, right? So those are the things that you should be aware of. But then your question would be, how would I get to know that? The first one would be your sales team. The second things would be your research about your customer, which can be done through questionnaire, right? So there can be questionnaire that can be sent to the customer to get as much information as possible. It can be like a KYC. You should know your customer, and the questionnaire will do the job there. The next step would more be on the strategic perspective, would be performing things like inspiration session, where you have a mock-up or a visual walkthrough of the product. I'm not saying that you're mapping the entire use case of the customer into the product and then giving it to the customer. Just a mock-up or a visual walkthrough of what your product can do. Of course, the sales team has performed a demo, but you can do a more customized demo about the product to get them interested, right? And these are the things that you can do before your implementation, before your training stage. That gives you a lot of idea about the outcomes that the customer would like to achieve. Doing things like check-ins, QBRs, using customer journey maps. You map out the journey to the identical, map out the journey to identify the critical touch points where your product impacts your business outcomes. So those are the things that you can do. You can send out surveys and feedbacks. You can have the CSAT surveys. You can have NPS. You can have even customer effort score, where you get to understand at what place while using the product the customer is having more difficulty. What is the bottleneck that the customer is having while using the product? For instance, just an example here. Assume that the customer doesn't want to log into the product using a user ID and password. They don't want to remember it. So is it possible for you to integrate with their SSO provider? Is it possible for you to integrate with Okta or any of the SSO like OAuth? So that will reduce the pain point for the customer, and that will lead to seamless user journey. Yeah. So I think these are the things or the strategies that a CSM can use to identify, understand the desired outcome of the product. And it you have the opportunity of uh, you know s- implementing these strategies at each level of the customer journey. And you'll find that at each level you will have a different outcome and a different experience. It will not be the same. It will be a rainbow, right from the start of the customer journey to the end of the customer journey.
I feel like the first homework that any CSM has to do is to get like a proper handover from sales team,
Correct.
because they are the first hand contact, and they they know the pain points. They have sold the product. They understand, okay, the customer himself has been vulnerable. Okay, I want to solve this. How do I solve this? So just
Mhm.
get like a really raw, very detailed handover is the key. Um, and yeah, I've seen it giving me great result when I was for my team, for myself. And as you rightly pointed out, talking to the customer during that kickoff before the implementation, just try and understand how do we create an impact internally for you is something that also we used to ask.
Yeah.
Maybe not on a group call, but just trying to understand what exactly this person who's trying to implement the product is
Mhm.
wants to achieve. Sometimes it doesn't come on the first call, so as you pointed out, it can be on the multiple calls that you take, just
Exactly.
regular checking, and
Yeah.
it's going to be different at different level of engagement, first 3 months, next 6 months, or 1 year
True.
down the line. So yeah, keep on understanding that is something that you need to do. So great tip
Yeah.
there.
So, and most of the times I found that these outcomes will be qualitative in nature, right? So, of course, at some places, eventually everything is quantitative. Eventually, the main goal of business is to increase your top line or reduce your bottom line. That's the end goal. But when you go through these stages, you'll see that at most of the places, the outcome would be qualitative in nature. But these qualitative outcomes will transient to a quantitative outcome. So if we handle these qualitative outcome better, achieved of these stages, the quantitative outcome will automatically be taken care of with high product usage, high user engagement, all those metrics of CS. So I feel that we do talk a lot about customer success metrics, which is really good, but the control is not there. The control is actually at the qualitative approach of handling the customers. So if the qualitative approach is done right, the quantitative thing will automatically be taken care of. You don't have to do any hard work to take care of it. It happens on its own. So when I say qualitative, you say qualitative aspect, it would be your relationship with the stakeholder. It would be the value. It would be the purpose. It would be how you can incentivize the users to log into the product daily and use it. What is in it for them? If we are able to answer this particular question, that what is in it for them, that will automatically reduce to result in high product usage and the rest of the KPIs that we talk for customer success.
Yeah.
So it starts with more qualitative focused approach. The quantitative automatically gets taken care of.
A lot of times we do things which are proactive in nature, like going ahead,
Mhm.
understanding, looking at these metrics, but a lot of things our approach is also reactive. So how do I
Yeah.
ensure that no matter how do I balance that proactive approach with and reactive approach to ensure
Mhm.
that we are always focused on that customer outcome?
Right. So typically, proactive approach is, as I said earlier, is more strategic and it's more CS oriented. So you have things like regular check-ins, business reviews, product health monitor, product usage monitoring, training, customer education, personalized engagement, and customer success plan. So these are the things that typically fall under the purview of proactive approaches. The reactive approach is more support focused. How responsive is your support and how well they are able to resolve the issue, how they are able to close the feedback loop, right? So they should be able to establish a mechanism for capturing and analyzing the customer feedback through support interactions or surveys or maybe even direct communications, escalation management, right? And even learning from incidents where you do an RCA and then share it with the customer. So these are the things that fall under the purview of reactive approach in customer success. Now, we need to ensure that the customer success, so the proactive approach and the reactive approach are integrated together using a system or a tool, right? So it can be through a platform, through a CRM platform that provides a comprehensive view of customer health score, usage, support tickets. So everything, falls under inside that CRM, and it gives you a dashboard view of the CS health scores as well as the customer support KPIs. helps in linking the two together. And of course, the cross-functional collaboration where foster collaboration between the customer success, the support, and the sales team to ensure that there is a holistic approach to customer engagement and management. Yeah. And I think one of the key things would be also prioritization of proactive or a reactive approach. So you should be able to uh, judge it well, as in when you should have a proactive approach and when you should have. So there can be few customers who focus only on features, right? Their emphasis is only on the feature. They're happy with the product. They want the site to be up all the time. They don't want any bugs or issues. So in those cases, you can have a more reactive approach. In few cases where a customer is co-working together with you, right? So there are many instances where a customer co-works with you and creates a new functionality or a feature within the product. In those cases, you can go towards a more proactive approach. Now, I'm not saying that it's a benchmark rule, but typically for big customers, for large accounts, you'll have a more proactive approach. And for SMEs or smaller accounts, you'll have a more reactive approach where your focus is just on sustaining that particular account and nothing else. Whereas in your proactive approach, your focus will change to upsell, to cross sell. So those are the things that matters.
Ensuring that the customer achieves it outcomes also requires a lot of personalization.
Definitely.
And one thing I feel like uh, a lot of CSM struggle with, that personalization means that knowing your customer in and out means knowing their
Mhm.
business in and out. So it
Mhm.
becomes, if you're handling, let's say, 10, 15, 20 customers, it becomes really
Mhm.
difficult for you to know each and every one. So how do you tailor your approach to meet that specific need and the goals of different customer? And for me as a person, if I'm also able to cater and do justice to this role and responsibility that I have got.
So typically, it starts with the discovery session and segmentation of the customer. That is, in which silo does the customer fall into? Now, uh, you can have customers belonging to different domain and verticals, and also different region. Now, each customer from a specific region and a domain can use the product to solve their use case, and the use case of each customer that the product will be solving would be different. Okay, so for example, in a specific case, you can use the tracker workflow for approval of certain requests, right? And in some cases, you may be using the same workflow for for a better customer engagement or end user engagement. So the workflow keeps changing, but it gets defined based on the customer domain that the customer is working in. Now, in cases like these, you should have your inspiration session, your uh, training session customized for that particular domain. Okay, so if, for example, if you have already engaged with a customer who was in the retail industry, then in those cases you can customize the entire journey or the entire customer success plan for that particular domain itself. So you can create multiple customer success plans. You can create multiple project plans for different domains, and that makes things easier, right? Uh, bec- and you can reuse it. You can replicate it for other customers too.
For creating this plan, we used to have like these best practices sessions. So just CSM talking to each other, sharing what has worked for
Yeah,
one set of customers, and for one segment. It is really important, and then you can probably from those learnings, from those stories, you can create like a whole template
precisely.
in the longer run, that these are the things that has worked for these many customers.
Yeah,
It has gotten this much value, so you will have that benchmarking also, that this we can replicate the same success for a new customer who is in the same domain by following
yeah,
these 1, 2, 3 steps.
correct.
Because uh, yeah, definitely knowing about each and every business is difficult, but every CSM has to do it. They need to know about what the customer is trying to do, But segmentation, as you pointed out, really helps, and it helps your team if they are handling similar set of customers, if they know what has
Very
worked
much.
versus not.
Yeah, yeah. And typically that also helps you become a leader in a specific industry. So it's not necessary that you are a leader in retail, in finance, in healthcare, right? So it's not necessary that your product is gonna solve the problem of customers from all the industries. As you mature, you'll find that your product is more suitable for customers from a specific industry. Now, when that happens, you can start customizing your communication, your marketing communication, your case studies, all those aspects in that particular industry, which will help you become a leader in that particular industry. And of course, that will lead to word of mouth, customer testimonials, case studies, and that will propagate your company's recognition or company's value to customers from the same industry. And we have done that. So we have seen that in Mango Apps, we were able to leverage the product in two key industries. One would be healthcare, and the second one is retail. And now we're focusing more on these two sectors. Of course, we're doing on other as well, but we're focusing more on these two, and we are getting lot of customers.
We talked about so many different strategies. How do we measure that, the strategies that we are implementing for
Mhm.
achieving the outcome, it's working out or not? Like, what are the metrics or what are the indicators that you track?
Okay, so that's a great question. So typically, it's the same conventional answer. It would be quantitatively, it would be your CSAT score, your NPS score, your customer lifetime value, time to value. Time to value is a very important metric, actually. How quickly you are able to derive the value from your product is time to value. So that's a key metric of customer outcome. How early a customer is able to derive a value from the product, because they have paid for the product and they want to get the value out of it. The sooner the better. The health scores, the usage. So those are the things that falls under the quantitative side of measuring the success. But I feel that we should, with the advent of AI and data analytics and business intelligence, we should start shifting more towards the qualitative approach, which was towards interaction, understanding the sentiment of the customers, understanding certain flags like change in the leadership team, change in the management team. Has the customer got acquired by a different company? Are there any pain points in the product because of which the customer is not liking it? So at times what happens is that there's a feature within the product and we get rid of it. And that leads to lower sentiment value for that particular customer. So those are the things that we should focus on more. And these quantitative parameters will, in today's day and age, with all these tools and AI that we have at our disposal, these things are easier to manage. But on the qualitative side, you have to engage with the customer on day-to-day basis. You have to understand how they perform the business. Go through their LinkedIn profile, go through your champion's LinkedIn profile, understand what they are trying to like, or what is their engagement strategy, how they are engaging with the product. So those are the key things that you should focus on in addition to the quantitative ones.
As you rightly pointed out, it's also about a lot of qualitative insights that you get. And yeah, if the customer is getting acquired or leadership change is there, that means definitely some business, maybe the business goals have changed, or something has changed, right? So how do we align ourselves as a vendor, and how do we align our services to meet that outcome is something. That's really
Exactly.
important and can be like an indicator to, okay, let's just pivot or let's go in the right direction.
Yeah.
All right. So I we are just going to wrap up, but I really wanted to understand. You see different, from your level, you talk to so many people. What are some trends that you are seeing? You know, everyone is kind of focusing more and more on customer outcome, and this is something that is talked about extensively. So, what are some future trends that you're seeing? How
Mhm.
can companies better prepare for it? Any parting thoughts?
Yeah. So I think the future is that of AI, that's for sure. And the AI is going to get merged at all the aspects of the customer journey, right from acquisition, your activation, where the customer success rise, retention, renewals, upsells, and cross-sells. So all these stages that you have in a customer journey is going to is going to be ruled by AI. So we should accept that particular fact. So previously, if you go back in 1990s, you used to have the data in Excel, and a person used to use that particular Excel file to use the data to find some insights, and that used to be very static in nature. You get the file, you use the data, and you have some inference with these pie charts and bar charts. So that was pretty generic nature. Now in 2010 and 2020, what you see here is the advent of the BI, the business intelligence and business analytics tool, which allows you to create these graphs and dashboard dynamically. You don't have to add those functions and add those parameters or macros to create these charts. All of it happens dynamically, and that's where the Power BI comes into picture. Then we move towards the analytics side of it, where you start using these regression tools to do predictive analysis. So what we have seen as a trend is that we have moved from a descriptive and a diagnostic approach to a more predictive and a prescriptive approach. So you'll hear these terms quite a lot in statistics, and I love to read about statistics. So that's why I'm quoting these things. So you'll see that we are moving more from a business intelligence approach to a predictive and a prescriptive one. And when you say prescriptive analytics, what you start focusing upon is how you can make it happen. So you try to control your outcome, and in order to control that particular outcome, you start using prescriptive analytics. Below that, you have something called predictive analytics, which just gives you an insight of what will happen using the data. So you use the regression model, you use these modeling techniques that we have in statistics to perform trend analysis in the future. But now with the advent of AI, we have a much uh, sustained and more balanced prescriptive analytics approach, where you can even understand how you can make it happen. So if you want a customer not to churn, the system will tell you that what are the next steps or the recommendations that you should do in the product so that particular thing doesn't happen, right? Now, these are the analytics and AI approaches that will help you deliver a more personalized experience at scale. So currently, you are not in doing these personalized experience at scale. It's not possible for us to do it, right? We have low touch, where we are doing it through tools and campaigns. Then you have mid touch, and then you have high touch. Now, even at low touch, with the advent of AI, it is possible to deliver a personalized experience nowadays. And there are many tools that are being worked on. So I don't think customer success will get impacted with this AI. It will it will accelerate, right? It will make things easier for us, and the overall growth will accelerate for the domain.
The companies would need to invest in AI in a robust data analytics capabilities so that
Mhm.
they are able to find a more holistic picture. Like they can directly tie the outcomes versus the revenue and the whole effort
Yeah,
together actually. So and it's going to help us out, help the customer success folks out who are working day to day with the customer. So
of course.
definitely such insightful conversation, and I'm going to go read more about the models that you talked about recently.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Any other parting thoughts from you?
Nothing. I think I feel that customer success is a great role to be in, because you get an opportunity to wear multiple hats in this role. You get an opportunity to wear the hat of a product manager, at times wear the hat of a sales team or a pre-sales team, interact with cross-functional teams. So, and of course, the most important stakeholder here, the customer. So there's always something new to learn in this particular domain. It can be learning a new domain, it can be learning a new product, it can be learning the customers. You'll be learning things that are rational in nature, through the product, through your engagements, and you'll also get to learn about about the people, understand their emotional sentiments, understand their background, and getting to interact with them more. You have a human touch, and you also have the tech touch. So it's a domain that balances well, and yeah, it's the job for the future.
I feel like this summary that you provided or the parting thoughts shows how much you love being in this profession. And yeah, definitely all the things that you mentioned are absolutely right. So thank you so much,
Yeah,
Alok, once again. And thank you for our listener for tuning in um, as we continue to explore this ever evolving world of customer success. And yeah, keep focusing on those customer outcomes. And we'll see you next time.
sure.
Bye.
Thank you, Kritika. Thank you. Bye bye.